Holly, would you like to introduce yourself to those who may not know about your adventure in music so far?
So my name's Holly Johnston. I'm a singer-songwriter and I was brought up on folk music. So a lot of what I write is very much in the folk tradition. It often tells stories, so each of my songs will be a story about something.
So, Toadwoman. What? Who is Toadwoman? And where did she come from?
Well, Toadwoman, as a performance, is a song story. So throughout a half an hour set, it tells the story of Toadwoman as she goes on adventures, and each song tells you a little bit more about something that happens to Toadwoman that overall will tell the story.
There was once a woman with beautiful slimy skin that could cut through the water. She had a deep rumbling voice that was so loud that she could talk to the creatures across the pond where she lived. And this pond, it was so beautiful, it was beyond your imagination.
And what did you have to find out in order to build this story?
So Toadwoman is part of an arts-based research project. It's for my master's in songwriting that I moved to Scotland and started doing last year. And in order to write Toadwoman, I began by interviewing some brilliant storytellers in and around Suffolk, some from further abroad, about what their creative practice is as storytellers. Because as a child I had a real fascination with storytelling. I loved the way it could just suspend you in a completely different universe, somebody telling a story without any props or anything else to go with it, just your imagination and their words. So I interviewed some of those storytellers that I'd grown up with to see what was their creative practice and could I apply some of this to my songwriting.
And did it work?
I think it worked. After interviewing them, I then had a couple of months where I was absorbing their words from the interviews and having a go at some of the things that they do as storytellers and applying those creative practices to my own creative practice.
So having set on a plan, Toadwoman began climbing hand over hand up to the very top of the tallest tree that she could find by the pond. It took all of her strength to get to that very top branch. And when she got to the top, she took a deep breath, she used her strong legs to push herself off, and she began to fall all the way down to the bottom of that tree, where she landed, and a tear began to fall from her eyes. And then nestled under Jenny Wren's wing, she began to cry. Stranded by the sycamore tree, comforted be, may you be. Lost, lonely, weak at the knee, long may you be comforted.
Did Toadwoman come out of your own imagination, or was it an existing story?
So Toadwoman as a story didn't exist in the way that I wrote it. I did a bit of research, and there is a story called Toadwoman, but it's very much a story about a witch that was nicknamed Toadwoman, and she had warts and she was considered to be evil and horrible. For me, I wrote Toadwoman partly in response to the story The Ugly Duckling. Because when I heard the story The Ugly Duckling, I always felt at the end, well, okay, the ugly duckling wasn't accepted at the beginning and now he's beautiful and now suddenly he's accepted. And I thought that actually wasn't the best moral to come out of a story. So for me, I wanted to write a story about somebody going on a journey that led to them feeling accepted and led to them maybe becoming who they wanted to be, but they didn't really have to change in order to do that. They didn't have to become beautiful. So Toadwoman is a slimy toad, but she's beautiful. And we state that very clearly at the beginning of the story. She is beautiful. And it's all about her journey and where she gets to.
Would you like to tell us about the first time that you showed Toadwoman to other people?
So, having written Toadwoman from October until about December of last year, I then invited lots of friends and family to quite a small, intimate gig. So 60 people turned up, and we showed them Toadwoman. And I think a lot of people didn't know what to expect because they'd seen my singer-songwriter stuff before. It was always just normal gigs, come, hear some music, I'll chat in between. But this was a story. This was 30 minutes where I take you on Toadwoman's journey. So I then got people's feedback afterwards. We went downstairs for tea and cake, and everybody had a look at the research I had done with the storytellers. They went through my creative portfolio, where I really kept track of where I began with Toadwoman and where I ended up, to try and track that creative process, which I've never really done before. And they gave feedback, and the feedback was really good. People said that they were mesmerised. They said that they really liked the message. They felt it was uplifting. They felt that it was nice that Toadwoman was beautiful, that she wasn't considered to be this ugly creature, and just stating that fact really kind of set people to think, yeah, this is good.
And is this the beginning of Toadwoman's adventures, or is it the whole of Toadwoman's adventure?
I don't know whether I'm going to continue writing about Toadwoman, but we're certainly going to offer Toadwoman as a story song to festivals. We've already been booked to play it at some storytelling nights. We want to share it a little bit, try this new venture out, because this really is something for all ages. So it's aimed at children, it's aimed at adults, it's whatever age you are, you should be able to access Toadwoman and hopefully enjoy it.
Well, I know I enjoyed it, so I look forward to seeing stories of your success.
Thank you.
See the whole world over. Dip that toe in something bigger and see the whole world.